So the Penguin, this
Yeah.
HBO's new series, man.
You
You
mean
know,
Sopranos?
Show love for what he meant.
let's talk about this for a second. And everyone knows that HBO wants to get their hands on something like they had with The Sopranos way back in the day because, Game of Thrones, it's a hit or miss when it comes out. So they don't know whether they're going to take flack or they're going to get praised. But The Sopranos was always like a home run for them. They've always, you see it on HBO advertisements, you see them talk about it. And it was another show that, some people hate that it ended. So that's why we have the Penguin now.
Mhm.
I like this show. I like it a lot. I think it's great. But now I'm cynical because of how Joker 2 was. Because I was so up for the idea of putting a supervillain in a realistic setting like that. Now I'm afraid of I see where this is going now. I feel like it's just going to go to rebuke the character itself. Because me and Steve were talking about this off air. The Penguin is good. However, it's like they give him way too much credit as the Penguin. Don't get us
Super
wrong.
credit.
The Penguin is cool. And he's cultured in this. He's got a deformity. They call him Oz, which is awesome. And Colin Farrell really deserves every freaking award he
He's
gets for the
making it.
performance.
He's making the whole
He's
thing.
amazing in this show. But the fact of the matter is that you have a show that's basically again like the Joker, but it's the Penguin leaning into this Sopranos element, very, very, very gangsterish. But you have the Falcones, and then you have the Maronis and the Gigantes. Those are all real gangs within
They're real
Gotham.
gang. Yep.
But here we go. And I had someone bring this up to me, Steve. They were like, the minute they bring Batman in this show, it's gonna be stupid. And it's like, that's what me and Steve were talking about. The
And they're
minute
going
you're
to do
gonna
it.
the minute you bring some well, actually they said that they're not gonna make another season. That it's gonna be one season.
One season.
They want to make it one season. However, we all
We'll
know
see. Yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
HBO.
Because HBO is reporting that episode 1 and 2 had a 17% increase in a single day of viewership. Episode 3 and 4, 6%. For episode 4 and 5, another 6% increase. So this show is really, really, it's got some heat. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I'm really, really, I like it a lot. But again, I like Vic. I like how they give the Penguin this, almost like mentorship towards this other kid from the movie too, because they're also
Yep.
trying to make this based off the Batman movie and trying to kind of bring him as a show and then bleed into the sequel. So I really enjoy the mentorship. I enjoy that whole aspect, but I like we keep saying, the minute they bring Batman, when are you going to bring Batman? The minute he runs into he's going to have to. He's going to have to run into another villain like the Joker or the Jazzman or the ventriloquist. And I'm naming ones that could possibly be real.
Probably
You
the
could-
ventriloquist. Now you said that.
I mean, you could actually have some of the gangster supervillains in Batman. You just have to do it right. You can't do it too cheesy. But that's what I keep hearing. Everyone is like, I love this show because it's like The Sopranos, but everyone's like, the minute I see Batman, I'm done watching. It's like, but that's what it is. It is about
They're in
Batman. And
Gotham.
they're in Gotham.
They're-
Batman has to come around. I'm surprised he hasn't popped in already with a gang
He's
war
got to
going
kick
on.
the shit out of him. What is the point of the show if you're seeing? You know what? We've said this before, and I know I'm spinning my wheels with this, but this whole thing, this era of, hey, all the Batman villains, let's try to make them likable and more human, right?
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Joker, we whatever. This. My thing is like you were saying, Rob, we're gonna get to that point, or we're at least going to get a lot of innuendos, like a batarang, or a guy. They're gonna go to a place and they're gonna be like, "Oh, who hit this place, and we have to move
Right.
operations." They're gonna say some stuff like that, but why not just go crazy? Why aren't we seeing like you just said, the ventriloquist or the Mad Hatter or Man Bat? When are we gonna see some crazy shit? Because it's cool that I like that they're doing that. They're trying to keep it grounded. They're gonna do it because Colin Farrell's such a
only go so
serious.
far.
You can only go so far, but then what's the point? Bring in a firebug. You know what I mean? Why not bring in a Two-Face? He's serious enough. I mean, you can bring these guys in and make them
Good
more
point,
serious.
Steve.
You don't have to have them so. I mean, they're all cartoony. They're cartoon characters, right? They're comic book characters. You can ground them however you would like to make them grounded. You can. Why not bring in a Victor Freeze before he gets frozen, right? Like, hey, I'm so and so, or you? Why are you fucking? You can do some shit like that, and if you don't, like, that's the whole thing with like, if I don't see Batman, I'm not watching. That's like saying if I don't see a dragon in Game of Thrones, well, fuck it. It's like you're gonna get your dragon, bro. Like,
But
relax.
no, people are telling me when they see Batman, they're done with the show, basically.
Yeah, and it's like you're not. First of all, you're not. You're not done with the show if they bring in Batman subtly. And number two, you know they have to because they're probing people with the whole we're gonna make it a one-time thing. Nothing nowadays is ever one. Nothing is ever one and done unless you're a Netflix show. Then you're one and done.
Especially if it makes money.
Right. If it and it's HBO Max. Like Rob made a great point on the last I think it was the episode of like the what was it? The Game of Thrones we were reviewing and you were saying the lot like, hey, if like this doesn't do well in the next couple of seasons, like HBO banked everything on this. Like they have a whole bunch of Game of Thrones seasons after this. So I think they're going head first into this. You know what I mean? They're HBO. They're not doing this as like, oh, we'll see. No, they have plans.
But I want to make one defense before I let Luke jump in on whatever thoughts he has. I want to say this, and I want to see if you guys agree with me. The one thing I will say about the Joker, the Penguin, all this good shit that people are enjoying, I'm going to tell you right now, it's what we've been saying for years. DC is for adults, Marvel's for kids. You can do this with DC characters.
Yep.
You could not do this with the Marvel characters.
Can you see anyone
Just saying.
just from the
Just
Avengers
saying.
doing this type of they did. They tried to with the Agent of Shield show, right? Where they try to make it grounded, just with just the people, no superheroes. Didn't do so well. So I don't know.
Because you know what's killing Marvel right now, ultimately? The boys. The boys is everyone's over the whole goody. It's like Hulk Hogan, man. Everyone's over the whole do your prayers and eat your vitamins and everything. Everyone's done with the Marvel comic characters. DC too, in a way. They want the grit. They want that grit, and that's why it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, you know, the Batman's like, I'm injecting myself with adrenaline and shit, and it's like, we're just taking it more and more dark and deep and everything. And it's just like,
they want the NWO Hulk Hogan.
But in a way, though, and again, I'm sorry, Luke. I feel like in a way, though, too, this whole era of making comic characters so grounded like that, you almost lose the element of the character itself because it's like, okay, let's make Batman really realistic. What? Injecting himself with adrenaline? Like, what the fuck? Is Batman like a fucking junkie all of a sudden? It's like...
I know. It's like it goes against the principles of
what's going on here? It's like Batman's just a fucking detective now? He just shows up and is more of the... It's like, okay. It's like, let's bring them down a notch. You know, same thing with the Joker. They did the same thing. Yeah. Let's piss all over him.
Yeah. While after bringing him down a notch and making him, like, real. So, I don't know.
Right. Luke, you got any thoughts on the Penguin or any of the subjects about DC we've been talking about?
The Penguin, and I'm excited. I'm excited too. I'm also like,
should be.
Yeah, I'm excited. It is interesting again, as you point out, that like it seems that the Penguin is like purged of anything comic book.
Yes.
Like you could, like a lot of people again are comparing it to The Sopranos because it's like this could just simply be The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if that was the angle. I like. It
absolutely.
And I think it's funny in this regard too, because as much as we're talking about how because they're comic books they're not including them, there's also a thing where it's like we seemingly cannot, there's an element or a feeling, I wonder if people like at least creators can't get a big mainstream idea on stage unless it's like an established property or like a comic book or something, which is like, because again, I think if you got rid of all of the names, if you got rid of everything, like if you just changed their names to something else, you honestly wouldn't even know if this was a Batman comic. This could be its own thing. Absolutely be its own thing.
Penguin, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like they specifically wrote it with that in mind. That like we're just gonna like this is gonna be a crime drama. And yes, it is connected to the Matt Reeves Batman universe that's still going, and then it's going to like lead into the second movie with some of the events that are set up. I felt that way with Peacemaker too. Peacemaker was a lot more comic booky, but it also just had a feeling that it wasn't, even though it was connected to the DC universe, it really did feel like its own thing. So, yeah, I'm excited for. I think it's a good thing. I think there's reason to be cynical though, because it's like, are we damning ourselves to first and foremost make comic book movies without the comic book elements in them, and at the same time, are we going to have to, whenever we want to do a serious drama, we want to like do a fairly larger budget type of movie? Does it have to be kind of tied to a superhero movie in some way, as opposed to just being its own thing? Would Penguin have done as well if it was just a crime drama on HBO? It's very hard to say. I think
it would.
I think this would have been done. I think it would have gotten really well. I don't know if it would have gotten the same.
Hey, HBO, let me tell you something. I like this more than the Batman. I think it's better than the Batman.
Yeah, I think so too. I think too.
I think the Batman, when I rate it on my list of Batman movies, is barely above Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight Rising, whatever you want to call it. Wow. I think it's barely above that, and I actually think the Penguin's better than that movie. So, hey, HBO, I think you have something here. I think you don't know what you have yet.
Yeah, like they're gonna wait. Yeah, they're gonna wait.
Because, and I'm just gonna add, if they really wanted to make the show really cool, they could add a lot of the more gangster, grounded villains. Like, everyone knows Batman Year One, what it's about. Yeah. It's about him taking on the mob.
Right.
So you could actually have that angle. Like, and you know what, even Steve, they don't even have to have him in the suit. They could have him in just, a ski mask like he tried. Remember when he didn't know how to be Batman
yet? He know how to be Batman. He was just in there in the black thing, with the ski mask. Or, hey, here's a novelty. Have Bruce Wayne show up probing the gangs. Hey, I'm Bruce Wayne, blah, 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 blah. And then you see, like you said, Rob, like the Year One Batman where he's fucking up and, you know what I mean, getting his ass kicked. Like, that's what you want.
But again, like we were saying, you can have so many different of the grounded villains that are the mob-tied ones in the Penguin and not make it cheesy. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next subject.